Hello, welcome to the second episode of the Alt Pulse podcast.
I'm Laura.
I'm Rob. We're here to talk to you about our experiences with music in the rock, alternative and metal scene.
So our main topic for this episode is going to be discussing our lineup predictions / wishes for 2000 Trees. Both the headliners that we would like to see as well as some of our favourites that we think would fit the Trees vibe.
Absolutely, and we're going to get onto that momentarily, shall we say. We want to start off this podcast with a kind of rough recap of September because it has been a while since we've done one of these podcasts.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, just general news, what's been going on that's been noteworthy. We've had a new singer for Linkin Park, for instance. Dave Grohl's got himself into a bit of hot water. Mm-hmm. We're not going to discuss either of those topics because I think they're a bit too heavy.
Yeah, just a little bit. But in summary, I think Emily Armstrong's a really good singer.
So do I. But the main topic I actually want to focus on is Bloodstock recently completely selling out their tickets.
Which is absolutely crazy. I think they've said that this is the fastest that they've ever sold out.
They've ever done it, yeah.
And it's all before a second announcement, which I think is pending.
Well, Vicky has said that they're doing a Facebook Live. We're recording this on the 14th of October, I should say. They plan to do a live Q&A thing tomorrow. So maybe that'll coincide with some lineup announcements or whatever.
Potentially, but
Bev, I want to ask you.
Yes.
Did you see this coming? Bloodstock selling out completely?
Kind of. I would say just given how strong the headliners are for next year, that sold to us straight away that we wanted to go back to Bloodstock, having missed out on this year's festivities. But yeah, I think Bloodstock just keeps getting stronger and stronger bookings, and I think the reputation of the festival is just continuing to grow and grow more in the metal scene. So.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, it started off quite a niche thing, didn't it, really, with a lot of niche metal bands. Yeah. Do you think it's mainly down to download fans who are becoming a bit jaded with the way that festival's heading, migrating towards a lineup that's kind of more catered towards their sort of heavier tastes?
Yeah, I can kind of see where you're coming with that, because a lot of the sort of quote-unquote Bloodstock faithfuls who have been there through the power
since
metal
day
days.
One, right?
Yeah, they're sort of talking about how it's becoming more download-like in terms of the lineup, not in terms of like the layout of the festival and the vibe.
It's funny,
and stuff.
Isn't it? You know,
it's kind
the
of
Bloodstock lifers the Bloodstock lifers are talking about how Bloodstock is getting more towards download, and download are like, oh, well, you know, we're not download anymore. We want something more heavy. So it's an interesting role reversal.
Yeah,
right?
it definitely is. I think that I will stress that that's probably just on the headliners and the bigger names on the bill.
So we should recap. The headliners for Bloodstock this year are Trivium, Machine Head and Gojira, which, I mean, I was stunned personally at how good that those headliners actually works, especially given the year Gojira have had for one.
Yeah.
You know, they've performed at the Olympics. They're really kind of at the apex of their sort of popularity.
I believe Gojira are currently touring the US right now as well.
Trivium as well. They've recently announced a co-headline tour with Bullet for My Valentine.
Yes.
Performing the Poison and Ascendancy in full together.
That is
so that's insane. Another coup for them, I would say.
Yeah.
And Machine Head, what can I say? They're Machine fucking Head. They're just amazing. I guess it's kind of playing on a lot of festivals I feel now are kind of, and we'll probably get into this later with 2000 Trees.
Yeah.
But I feel a lot of these festivals are kind of playing into millennial nostalgia a lot.
A little bit, yeah, for sure. I mean, going back to Bloodstock, I mean, they've got Lacuna Coil, who have been going around for a long time.
You
got
can't wait to see
Static
them,
X.
right?
Yeah, Lacuna Coil are definitely going to be one of my highlights. But, of course, if you want to see our full reaction to the first Bloodstock announcement, you can go and check it out on the channel.
We'll leave it in the description below.
Yeah.
But you love Lacuna. I must admit, Lacuna Coil is one of those bands that kind of slipped me by a bit.
Yeah, I just remember like playing their songs on like Guitar Hero. That's kind of where I first got introduced to them.
Sure.
So that could be another thing that we could talk about in another episode, is like video game soundtracks and stuff.
Yeah, honestly, good on Bloodstock. It's a fantastic festival. We can't wait to go back there next year.
I'm very, very excited.
It's just the logistical changes, which obviously I feel like Vicky's probably going to highlight tomorrow in the Q&A, are going to be very interesting to hear about. Are they going to keep the bin jousting? Are they going to keep the same food stalls? Is the tent, the Sophie Lancaster stage, is going to be expanded. That's what a lot of people really want to happen.
And I guess as well, our merch price is going to stay the same as what they have been for the last couple of years. Our beer prices going to be remaining roughly the same.
My only worry is that it's going to attract a slightly different audience than previous years. Because one of the biggest appeals about Bloodstock for me was the crowd it attracts. Like, all guys that were there to celebrate these kind of niche subgenres of metal, you know. So they all wear their heart on their sleeves, and they're so passionate about it. But equally, just the nicest people.
Yeah.
If they've got more downloaders or more guys that are kind of going there just to see, obviously I'll welcome any newcomers with open arms. Obviously, we all do. But it kind of, how is that going to fare? I guess is what I'm saying.
I think a few people may have had that for when Architects got announced. Architects aren't really a Bloodstock band.
Not in the traditional sense.
But
no. Bloodstock is a festival that kind of caters more towards the trad metal enthusiasts.
I mean, they had a Monomarth there last year. That kind of says what you need to know about the diversity of what there is.
Yeah, I mean, the year I first went, it was Creator were one of the headliners. You know,
it was Creator,
and Judas Priest and Devin Townsend. So that gives you kind of an idea. That gives you an idea, really, of the monumental leap that this festival has taken in terms of their headliners they've booked. You know.
Yeah, they're definitely giving sort of, they're giving Machine Head a headline slot, which I think a lot of people have been saying that they need to come back to the festival for. But they're also giving bands like Trivium and Gojira an opportunity to headline a really big metal festival in the UK, which they probably wouldn't get a chance to do at Download, for example.
Arguably, like people were saying for years, Trivium should have probably headlined Download as well, I'd argue. Yeah,
I mean, at their peak, absolutely.
They probably had that drawing power, same way people think Partway Drive should headline Download. I think Partway have performed at Bloodstock before. Yeah, in fact, I think they have headlined it before.
Yeah, I want to say that was like 2017, 2018.
So maybe Bloodstock is just now going to become the sort of the metal festival as opposed to Download,
Yeah, I mean, Download have obviously diversified, their lineup for years now.
We can only assume what's going to happen with Download next year, although... we could leave this chat for another podcast.
Yeah, we'll absolutely talk about Download another day. Yeah. But I guess this is a good segue to another bit of news from this month in terms of, who we want to see at Download.
Ah, yes.
Green Day have done something really cool.
Yes, well, one of the big rumours for Download next year, which I obviously really hope is going to happen, given how much I love these guys, is a headline slot by Green Day.
Yeah, and it's long overdue if it does happen.
Massively long overdue. And let's face it, if Fall Out Boy can headline, who've played understudy to Green Day, then surely there's a question whether Green Day too big, but then again, if they can get Metallica and AC/DC, then surely Green Day are well within that bracket.
And you've also got to think about, going back to the 20th anniversary, they had Bring Me as a new headliner, and they were apparently the best headliner of that weekend.
I'm telling you this for sure. If Green Day are there at Download next year, we're going.
Yeah, we are absolutely going to go for the day if Green Day are there. But yes, back to the topic at hand.
Speaking of Green Day, and I am going to segue into this. So this year is the 30th anniversary of Dookie, if you can believe that. I was 1 year old when that album came out, but it's still my favourite album of all time.
I want to say I was 1 month old when that album came out.
It's still my favourite album of all time. My cousin introduced me to it when I was quite young, and he was just playing Basket Case on a loop pretty much, and I was like, this is such a great... At that point, I'd already heard American Idiot, and I was well aware of American Idiot. But because I was quite young and naive at the time, I assumed that American Idiot was the only album Green Day released. However, Dookie then came along, and it really just opened my eyes into just how great this band was, how great Mike Dirnt is as a bass player, and Trey is as a drummer, Billy's songwriting and guitar playing. And now they've done away with all of that talent. No, not really. But they what they've done is they've done really something quite unprecedented, I feel.
Yeah, this is very cool.
In terms of what a band can do to market a record or try and sell more copies of said records. They've done a thing recently called Dookie Demastered, which is basically they have re-released it in 15 different formats.
And
of varying degrees of fidelity, basically.
Yeah, it's a massive shame, I will say, that this is apparently only US shipping.
I know, yeah.
Otherwise, I think some of these are absolutely genius, and we would own at least one of these.
Well, I'll read the description here. It says, the album that exploded punk rock 30 years ago re-exploded into obscure, obsolete, and inconvenient formats. And you think we're not joking here?
No.
So we'll go through quickly, track by track. They've got... So Dookie, absolute classic album, right, for the record. So many great tracks. Opening track, Burnout, which is a track that used to wake me up every morning before school on my little kind of CD player. I could cue it to make sure an alarm would go off and be woken up to the sounds of this every morning. Too bad I didn't have a grand piano, though, to do this, because they have released this in the format of a piano roll.
Yeah, it literally says here that the runtime is variable. It was invented in 1883, and it's at 70 BPM.
Yeah, as in the piano roll itself was invented in 1883, not the concept of Green Day.
No, but you know what I mean.
No, but it says the arrangement of Burnout is compatible with most player pianos manufactured in the past 100 years. They've imprinted alongside the margin, making it easy for friends and acquaintances to sing along in your parlour, drawing room, or saloon. And here's my favourite part. It says piano not included.
No.
So what the hell are you going to do with this? I don't know. Well, I guess it's quite a good souvenir, really.
It would be.
What they basically are doing with this, I should explain. They are selling these as limited edition kind of items. But you could only, because the drawer is now closed now, sadly, get it through like a kind of a lottery, I guess.
Yeah, it's like a ballot type thing.
A ballot type thing.
Yeah. But however, if you do go onto the website, you can actually listen to the tracks as they are on the format they are we're not demastered.
We're not going to play them on here because I don't want to get copyright stricken.
And also, we would love to talk about every single one, but we've got so much to talk about today.
That's true. I'm gonna blitz through these. They've got Having a Blast on a Floppy Disk, which is another really low fidelity. They've even done like a kind of 90s piracy is a crime. Please do not redistribute this floppy disk. Chump, really, really cool. They've done a Teddy Ruxpin, so it's like a kind of talking Tickle Me Elmo, Tickle Me Bear
it's
type
definitely
thing.
an American toy. I do not know what this
It's
toy
a very much a
90s.
It's like it's a stuffed animal that told stories and sang lullabies to millions of children in the 80s.
Oh, okay, that probably explains why I don't know what it is.
And the fact that Chump starts with "I don't know you, but I think I hate you" as a lyric is, I don't know, some sort of weird thing they've got going on there.
So then the next one we've got is Longview on a doorbell,
which I want.
This would be great
so badly.
And the runtime is 15 seconds because, of course, a doorbell can't play the whole song.
No. Welcome to Paradise. They've got on a Game Boy cartridge, which I feel like is probably your favourite.
Yeah, I still have a Game Boy Advance SP, which can play Game Boy cartridges. So if I got this one, it would absolutely get used.
It would be Paradise for you, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Pulling teeth on a toothbrush, which is by far the best joke of the whole.
It is absolutely genius. Whoever came up with that concept.
As they put here, finally you can put Dookie in your mouth. Not recommended. Oh, man.
And then we've got Basket Case on a...
Singing bass. Classic.
Yes.
Did you ever own a singing bass?
No, my mum would call that tat, so we never had one.
Yeah.
We would never have something like that.
Again, I think
house.
it's very much an American thing. I remember Lemmy in the documentary about Lemmy having one on like his dressing room.
Yes.
That sung "Don't Worry, Be Happy."
Mm-hmm.
She on a hit clip. Now, what's a hit clip?
So
I've never heard of this.
This, right? I think they had something like this as a McDonald's toy back in the early noughties. And it would play like a 15-second sample of a song. I'm sure, if anybody remembers it, I'm pretty sure they had like Liberty X as one in the UK.
Liberty X? What the hell happened to Liberty X? That's a name from the past.
They came back a few years ago.
Did they?
Genuinely, yeah.
Or was it like a kind of 5 deal where they kind of seemingly came back but then immediately broke up again?
Yeah, maybe it was something like that. But yeah, these like little clips, they had them at McDonald's like many years ago.
It must be like a kind of Tamagotchi type deal.
Not quite, but I get what you're coming from with that.
Sassafras Roots, which is one of my personal favourite songs from the album. Great bass line. On a proper old school 60s and 70s 8-track tape format.
Yep.
Unlike most 8 tracks, it only includes one song.
Yeah.
But this is all really fascinating because you do genuinely get a feel for some of how music was consumed back in the day.
Like,
when I come around on a wax cylinder, which is probably... It says the wax cylinder was invented in 1877. And it was basically a century-old thing where you can only really hear it on a gramophone.
Yeah.
And they said if only Edison had lived long enough to see it. They've got Coming Clean on an X-Ray record. This is really... I've read this description before, right? This is fascinating, right? X-Ray records, known as ribs or bone music, originated in the USSR in the 50s as a way to bootleg banned Western music. By cutting grooves into actual X-rays, music could be copied and distributed outside official channels.
Wow.
And so, Coming Clean's been this has been etched into a real X-ray.
That's crazy.
And then you can put the X-ray onto like a record player, and it will play play it as a record. That's fascinating.
That is really cool. I love how it said there as well. Body part varies.
Yeah, that's like something off QI, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's fascinating. It would look pretty cool as well.
It would.
You want to listen to some music? Get the old Wine and Roses out. You want to put some vinyl on? Actually,
I've got my X-ray record here. I've got my X-ray
skeleton record here. Emilia Sleeper's another favourite of mine on an answering machine.
And this one is a very American one as well, I think.
Hi, it's Bill Lumberg. Hi, it's Bill Lumberg. Yeah. By the way, we found out at our last rehearsal, we recently discovered Emilia Sleeper's is Latin, apparently, for sleeping with the dealer.
Oh.
Or something like that. So, I mean, of course, Mike wrote it.
Yeah.
Enough said, really.
Mm-hmm. So then we've got In the End on a mini disc.
Yeah, Home Straight. In the End on a mini disc.
I don't remember. 1992 it says here.
Oh yeah, that was the year before I was born.
No, I actually do think I remember these. They were like really small CD type things, and you could use them on your PC.
There you go. They are literally. We're looking at a picture of it here. It's literally a tiny CD.
I seem to recall that like some old PC games would be on these like mini discs.
It says size surprisingly small. But yeah, that's fascinating. And the advent before streaming and before even regular size CDs. And I listened to all of these, and the fidelity on this particular one is actually surprisingly good.
Okay.
FOD.
On a Fisher-Price record.
I love the irony of this one. This is hilarious. FOD, which stands for Fuck Off and Die, on a Fisher-Price
I also like this.
Player.
Runtime, 40 seconds, depending on player health. And it's in the key of C major.
Oh, there you go then. Yeah.
That's
player
funny.
I mean...
And then, of course, final one.
Finally, the infamous hidden track, All By Myself, sung by Trey Cool, which is... I mean, if you know Green Day, you know what the song is about. I'll just read the description and then we'll leave it at that. Crank it as long as you want with All By Myself, arranged for the first time on a hand-cranked music box.
And the suggested crank speed is medium.
I bet it is. So that was, Dookie Demastered. Unfortunately, like we said, it's all completely gone now. Yeah. But the website is still there for posterity.
And you can obviously listen to the audio samples as well.
Yeah, so. I highly recommend dookiedemastered.com. Going on there and just giving yourself a laugh.
Yeah, definitely.
It's absolutely brilliant. Long live Green Day. And we hope they're a download next year.
Fingers crossed. So now we're just going to quickly talk about, some of the new albums that we've listened to over the last month and any gigs that we've booked. I think I'm the only one of the two of us that have booked a fresh gig for this month.
Yeah.
So Vukovi have recently announced that they are going to be doing their biggest headline show in the UK at the infamous Kentish Town Forum. And I'm so excited. This is happening on Friday the 7th of March. This tour is to sort of celebrate their fourth album, which is coming out on the 24th of January, and it's called My God Has Got a Gun.
On Sharptone.
On Sharptone.
We love that label.
Yes. They signed to Sharptone last year. And they released 2 songs to celebrate that, which was Mercy Kill and Creep Heat. But yeah,
but those aren't on the album.
Those are not on the album, so they were just sort of standalone
teasers.
Releases.
Who's supporting Vukovi with those?
Yes.
Have they actually announced it?
They have. So the supports, they've got 2 supports. They've got RTO, who I believe were at either Download or Slam Dunk this year.
I want to say they were at both.
They probably were at both, but I don't think we saw them.
RTO's making big numbers. Not my cup of tea, I must admit.
Well,
bit pop rock.
I will definitely cover them on the channel for here. And the second support, which I'm very excited about, Unpeople.
Yes.
Unpeople at Kentish Town Forum. Please.
We love a bit of Unpeople. If you've ever watched our 2000 Trees vlog, you'll know I was right in the thick of it. And Luke, their guitar player, was right, like, jumping in.
It was so good.
Right in the thick of it with me, and yeah, it was great stuff.
So
that band is seriously going places.
They are. So yeah, Vukovi, I am very excited for that gig. Like I say, that's Friday the 7th of March at the Kentish Town Forum in London, and yeah, cannot wait for that show.
The only gig I've got planned, I'm a bit touch and go on this one, really. But we're up in Nottingham at the time, so it's an excuse for me to go to this. But I'm eyeing up Evan Dando, who is the frontman of a band called the Lemonheads. If you're ever familiar with any alternative rock from the 90s, you'll probably have heard of these guys. Their most famous song is probably a cover of Mrs. Robinson by Simon and Garfunkel. It was featured in a few like 90s movies. But I think Evan's a fantastic songwriter. It's a Shame About Ray is one of the all-time great 90s albums. I highly recommend you check it out. I love him. I love his work. Love his voice. He's a real kind of... He's a kind of old school kind of country crooner. Not really the sort of thing you'd expect me to listen to, really. But he's got an aura about him. You know, he's very bohemian, and he kind of does his own thing and sets his own parameters in life, which can be a good thing, but also has got him into hot water in the past.
Absolutely, yeah. We saw the Lemonheads at Rock City. Was it last year or the year before?
It might have been the year before last.
Yeah.
But, it was. I think they played 40 songs.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
And they still finished early.
And we ended up going to Tap and Tumbler afterwards for like a few drinks before we went home.
It was like a 7:00 start. They had. It wasn't as if it was just him as well.
They had supports as well.
They had a support act called Bass Drum of Death, and
that's it. Yeah.
They played 40 songs, including some really.
They had like a Britney Spears cover.
Yeah, they put like a Britney Spears cover in there, like a Whitney Houston cover, I think it was, chucked in there. He's a real enigmatic figure in the music industry. He doesn't give a fuck, really. Yeah. And I love him for that.
It's cool.
You know, and I've heard varying reports about what the gigs have been like so far on this tour of his, but he's playing Rescue Rooms on Sunday the 27th of October. I may be going to that.
And if so, there will be a vlog for that.
Yeah, potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully this coincides with the announcement of a new Lemonheads record, which they have been teasing for a while, to be fair.
Yeah, there's a lot of bands that we really hope are going to be bringing out new albums and just new music in general in 2025.
You see, I'm liking that segue.
We love the segues here.
Yeah, so in terms of albums, I guess we've got to look forward to for the rest of the year. So there's a few we haven't... I mean, our list is very, very long.
Yeah, I'm also very, very, very behind on my listening. But one album that I did listen to this month that I loved was Harriet's debut record. I just Visage. Like, it's the penultimate track on the album. And I listened to it again in the car the other day when I was driving to a Lorcana tournament. And my God... that like atmospheric sort of vibe on that track is it was so good.
So this is Devoured by the Mouth of Hell by Harriet, which is, like you said, their debut.
Yes.
It's in equal parts, I think, so visceral and so fucking heavy and bludgeoning and ridiculous.
Yeah.
But it's offset by moments of like real tenderness and real kind of atmosphere. Mm-hmm. You know, shout out to our friend John Garcia, aka Stay Puffed, who invited Debbie onto his podcast.
Yes.
Where they talked about an Oathbreaker record, right? And there's a lot of textures in it, a lot of kind of black metal meets atmosphere kind of stuff. which you can totally hear in Harriet's.
Yeah,
stuff,
even
I
on
feel,
their
you know.
EPs, like you could definitely hear that.
They're fantastic live, right?
Yeah.
I must admit, hold my hands up, I wasn't totally sold on them before.
No, because I remember like when I first really got into Harriet, you were like, oh.
I struggled a bit, I must admit.
Yeah.
And then I saw them live at Slam Dunk. I was like, oh yeah, these lot are definitely listening. And
I've
then I saw them at Download in the pissing rain.
It was absolutely chucking it down. And I'm
with
sure
technical
that,
problems and all.
they started late because of technical issues. I think they probably had to cut a song or two. But yeah, we're seeing Harriet again next month supporting Fit for an Autopsy. Which
that is going to be a ridiculous
That is going to be
gig,
such a heavy night.
Fit for an Autopsy, Silosis, Darkest Hour and Harriet.
Yeah.
I don't think you can find a gig that sort of will leave you with more of a headache in a good way.
Yeah. we cannot wait for that.
It's going to be absolutely magnificent.
Yeah. What other albums have you enjoyed this month?
This month, I've got to say, I've been quite busy this month. I haven't had much time to listen to much stuff. I think I've listened to the new Unto Others, Never Neverland.
Yeah.
There's one song in particular from that album which really stands out to me, which is Suicide Today. Mm-hmm. Just an utterly phenomenal song. Really marries that kind of goth rock thing they've got with like just pure punk rock, bit of post punk in there.
Yeah,
and just such an infectious. They're a really infectious band. You know, to get into.
Yeah, we've both seen them live before as well.
We have, and we're going to see them live, being supporting Green Lung at
in
Kentish,
February.
the aforementioned Kentish Town Forum.
Yeah,
which is going to be fantastic. I'll get into this band later. Uzumaki. I listened to their I think it's their debut. Instantly got smitten by it. It's just one of those things which is like indie rock meets shoegaze, meets grunge, just all in a blend. That's just Rob in a nutshell. That is
I know.
my taste.
Obviously, if that name rings a bit of a bell for some of you, if you've watched our puppy vlog, which we put out last week, Uzumaki were one of the supports at this gig.
And I got into them through that gig. So just goes to show, always check out the support bands.
Definitely.
Because you never know, you could be pleasantly surprised. Mm-hmm. Wonder Horse, which is a band that I know very little about, but I know there's been huge buzz surrounding them. They're a kind of, again, they're a sort of indie rock, but quite gloomy, quite atmospheric. Their album, Midas, is just utterly phenomenal. And that came out quite recently as well. Unfortunately, I can't really put much of a date on a lot of these, because we are going off a spreadsheet pretty much. My Gothy Boys Zetra released their debut, just utterly smitten with their kind of synth poppy goth style.
Obviously, there's a lot of other albums that we're looking forward to, and other albums that we haven't listened to yet. So we're probably going to do at the end of the year sort of a bigger summary of some of our favourite albums from, before the podcast even started.
Also, Drug Church, fantastic record, Prude. Drug Church, they've got a real kind of, they're in that kind of American hardcore scene with bands like Angel Dust and all that lot. But they really have their own defining. I would say they're kind of America's answer to High Vis, really. Yeah. They've got a sort of hard rock thing about a real Americana sound to them. But in a hardcore way. It's a really interesting kind of dynamic they've got there. But that was another record that I believe came out this month. Don't quote me on that again. I'm going off a spreadsheet. That I really loved. The fact of the matter is, we consume music. Well, certainly I consume music like running water. I've listened to about 90 albums this year.
Yeah, I'm lagging a little bit behind on my album listening.
So
I'm not going to.
It's very difficult to kind of
summarize it all.
Yeah, summarize it all.
But as I say, we're definitely going to do a podcast at the end of the year, or a video or something, to sort of talk about our sort of top 50-ish albums. Yeah. We always do a massive countdown on our Instagram pages.
We do.
Because we just listen to a lot of albums and we have a lot of interests in music. And there might be some surprises on there this year. I think for me, I think, spoiler, I think this year hasn't been the greatest for albums, but there's certainly been some absolute gems this year.
It's been a year where we've been incredibly busy on all fronts, really.
Yeah.
With kind of home life, domestically, going to all these festivals, going to all these gigs. We really haven't had that much time to really sit and reflect on a lot of music we've listened to
Yeah.
that much, but by December we'll probably have something for you that you can mull over and before the end of the year I'll probably listen to my top 25 again like I did in previous years and really kind of get a definitive sort of it's this, these are my definitive 25 albums of the year.
Yeah.
Right, so essentially that covers that. I guess you can see all the gigs that we've been to this last month. You check out our puppy vlog, pretty much. That's really the only gig we've kind of went to. I've been to a whole bunch of tribute band gigs at our local venue. Saw a Stone Roses tribute, which was quite good. And I saw the 900 actually as well.
Oh yeah, you did,
recently, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Got a lot closer than I did at 2000 Trees, let's put it that way. But we'll go on to our main topic now because I don't want.
Speaking of trees.
Yeah, speaking of trees. There you go.
We're killing these segues.
You're much better at segues than I am. I think I was the king of the segues in the first podcast.
And now I'm doing it.
Now you're
I'm
taking over.
in the reins.
Yes.
So yeah, we'll talk about our main topic for this podcast, which is talking about our 2000 Trees predictions / wishes. So next Thursday, at the time of recording this podcast, so the 24th of October, 2000 Trees have teased a huge announcement. Huge announcement. They've already said that they're going to announce all the headliners.
All of them.
All of them.
And there's going to be 5 headliners.
Yes, because 2 of the days are going to have co-headliners. So similar to 2000 Trees the first time that we went, where they had Turnstile as a co-headliner and they had Yumi at 6 as a co-headliner.
Yeah, but I love the way that Trees announced it, though.
Yeah.
Because they were like, oh, we've got some bad news, I'm afraid. The announcement that we were going to announce is no longer happening because we've announced another headline slot.
Yeah, they were really sort of like slow rolling that, but it was pretty funny.
It was very fun. Fair play to them, I say, getting 5 headliners. That's absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Shall we start with my predictions?
Well, yeah, so we've already we went out for dinner the other week and we were just sat having a drink in the bar, weren't we? And we was writing down some names that sort of came off the top of our heads.
Pretty much.
So not all of these names that we talk about are necessarily who we think are going to be headlining.
A lot of these are wishes.
A lot of these are ones that we really want to see there. So yeah, we'll just do a little bit of back and forth discussion.
This is going to be quite loose, quite fast and loose, but I don't care. So starting off, right out the gate, I'm going to make a late prediction. There's been a lot of buzz in the rock world recently about 2 bands that have basically, I guess, defined the majority of UK millennials' music taste in the early 2000s in terms of their contribution to pop punk. I'm, of course, talking about Busted and McFly.
Yes.
Now, I know what you're thinking, right? No, Rob, that's slam dunk all over. But hear me out, right? You've got a couple of bands that basically, up until recently, really were kind of grounded in the sort of mainstream sort of world, if you like. But now they've done Download. I think they've kind of, Busted certainly, have kind of cognizantly come to the realization that, oh, hang on, Download is now, the people that we were playing to when they were young kids are now in their 30s.
Yeah.
And they're the main crux of the sort of festival goers, if you like. And they're all into their alternative music now. So therefore we're not playing to real kind of mainstream audiences anymore.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm trying to say?
It's also worth pointing out that I think the main reason that this is kind of snowballed, if you like, is because McFly and Busted are doing a massive co-headlining show together next year anyway in the UK.
They are, yeah.
So I think a lot of people, and again, going back to what you've already said about Busted being at Download, McFly have played Slam Dunk before.
Yeah. They're no strangers to playing festivals and winning people over.
Yeah.
Back in 2005 or 6, right, if I'd have said, yeah, McFly and Busted are going to be playing Download or 2000, I would have been locked away.
Yeah.
But now the dust has settled, and it's really... Bands now are kind of coming out of the woodwork like Creed and Nickelback. And people are being like, actually, we always like them, really.
Yeah.
Don't lie. Both bands have got sets of bangers on them.
Yeah, I will admit, like, growing up as a kid, I didn't really like McFly. I would have probably been more Team Busted.
Yeah, see, my sister was big into both of them back in the day.
But I've never seen Busted live, I will say.
I saw Busted live in 2004. It was technically my first ever with McFly. McFly supporting Busted in Hyde Park for CBBC in 2004, and I would have been about 12.
You would have been about 11.
11.
Yeah.
Yeah, 11. I'm so old. I don't know my own age. No. But I mean, at the end of the day, they've sort of provided a kind of blueprint for a lot of, I guess, millennials to kind of make their way into heavier styles of music.
Yeah, that's completely valid.
In my opinion.
I mean,
even if it's not heavy styles, I mean, pop punk, right?
Yeah.
I can guarantee any kid worth their salt who was living in the UK in the era of, the early 2000s CBBC and stuff, their first exposure to pop punk would definitely have been Busted and McFly.
I mean, also, and then segueing into sort of like Charlie's side project Fight Star.
I would love for them to be, because I've never seen Fight Star.
That could be a good.
They have actually performed at 2000 Trees before Fight Star.
They have, yeah.
Interesting little factoid, actually. On guitar was when Fight Star, I think, last performed at Trees, stepping in as or deputising for them was one Amos Williams.
Oh,
who is the bass player for Tesseract.
Yeah.
There's footage of it online, and I'm like, hang on a minute, that's cool. Moss. What's he doing? It's a weird sort of...
That's really cool.
Weird combination there. But I would love Fight Star to be there personally. They would, in a lot of people's eyes, seem like more of a 2000 Trees band because they have done it before. I don't know what Charlie's stance on Fight Star is at the moment. I know they had that big gig at Wembley Arena.
Yeah, they did.
But they haven't really done anything since then.
No.
And also, I think it's too much of a coincidence that Trees announcing there's going to be another co-headliner,
and then they announced
Busted and McFly announcing their tour was so close together.
Like I say,
think that was just too much of a coincidence.
Yeah, that's the main catalyst. So that's why you sort of dub it as a late prediction.
So don't call me too mad, right? But this is my out there prediction. It's going to be McFly and Busted. Do you want to go for your first one? Yeah.
So I guess my first prediction of not prediction. I would really love to see this band at 2000 Trees. And they're a band that have been away for quite a while for different reasons. Mainly moving record label, but also the lead singer and the guitarist starting a family over the COVID times. I'm talking about Marmozets. I think that 2000 Trees would be the perfect sort of comeback for them.
I agree.
I absolutely adore this band. I first saw them in 2015 at the Rescue Rooms in Nottingham, and it was absolutely ram-packed for Marmozets. I went with a friend of mine, shout out Nat, who I went to uni with, and Nat introduced me to Marmozets in 2014, 2015, and when we saw that they were playing Nottingham, we were like, okay, we're going. And since then, I saw Marmozets 4 times, twice supporting Yumi at 6. So, yeah.
Lucky. I'd never seen Marmozets.
Yeah, I got to see them 4 times.
I bloody love Becca's voice. I think she's a phenomenal singer. And it was such a shame when they went away for such a long time, and seemingly for no reason. They just kind of disappeared. But obviously we've then grew to find out.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons as to why Marmozets have been away. Like I say, mainly Becca and Jack had a baby over the COVID times. Yeah. We've also we've seen footage of them rehearsing, which has been the biggest tease in the world.
That's literally the only thing they've put out, though, right?
Nothing
else.
There's one clip of them rehearsing.
One low quality clip shot from the drum stool.
Yeah.
Of them rehearsing. Yeah. You can hear them in the background.
Yeah.
Virtually. That's it. That's all they've teased. So we are really hoping they are going to cut. Well, partly because I've never seen them. I would love to see them. The closest I got, I think they were at download 20. I want to say 18.
Yeah, it would have been 2018.
They were on the main stage.
They were.
That's how big they got at that point.
Yeah. Like I say, I absolutely adore this band, and I would love to see them back at some point. And if it's at Trees, great.
I just feel like they'd be a perfect fit. They've got that post-hardcore element.
I don't know. I want to say that they have played Trees before as well.
Trees is all about, for the most part, the genres that in rock that aren't really kind of as mainstream.
Yeah.
So, like, I know I say this just after predicting Busted and McFly as a co-headliner, but, you know, Marmozets are really difficult to categorise.
They are, yeah. It's quite tricky to sort of...
They've got that post-hardcore thing about them. They've got a bit of metalcore in there. Mm-hmm. They've got, like, dance punk or something. Yeah. I don't even know how to describe it.
When you think about Battery off of the second album, if you remember how that goes, that's got some really sort of vibey guitar parts in it. Yeah. It's really they're a really interesting band, and like I say, I fell in love with them when I first saw them nearly 10 years ago at this point. And yeah, I just think that this is a perfect time for them to come back. Obviously, as I say, they've recently moved to a completely different record label. They were on Roadrunner, and I don't know what's happened there.
Well, Roadrunner, I can't say too much really, but you know, just from what I've heard, is that they're in a bit of trouble at the moment. There's a lot of bands that are jumping shit, like Higher Power on Roadrunner, for example. Now they're not. And a whole bunch of other bands have kind of jumped ships. Something's going on with that label.
Yeah.
But now they're independent, right?
Marmozets are with like an independent record label. They're not actually independent.
Well, I mean, hopefully that means we'll have a record coming, or some sort of release
something, please. Like, they've just been teasing for so long, and I think it's probably going to be, like I say, in 2025 if we hear anything more from them. But I follow them all on Instagram, and it's just like, come on, like...
Get on with it.
Get on with it. I'm joking. I love you guys. So, I guess, for me, another wish and prediction, I want to talk about who I think could be a headliner. Because Marmozets, I would love to be there, but they would not headline.
You don't think they would headline?
No, I think not the main stage.
I could see them headlining the Cave.
The Cave would be off.
That seems like
limits,
their
like,
kind of vibe, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but in terms of like a main stage headliner, I think my first name that I'm going to throw out there is Enter Shikari. They're a band that have played 2000 Trees before. They've headlined 2000 Trees before, and it has been a while since they've played there.
And plus, I wouldn't mind seeing them again, to be fair.
Yeah, Shikari are just absolutely brilliant. I don't think we really need to talk too much in detail about Shikari. You know, they're just an absolute sort of giant in our scene.
Yeah. But they're such a big band, but they've never ever strayed away from their principles.
Absolutely,
which is what I respect the fuck out of them for that. So I could totally see them kind of. I don't want to say lowering themselves, you know, because that seems like Trees is a bit of a minnow, because it's still a big rock festival.
Yeah.
But I can totally see Shikari kind of doing away with all the kind of pomp and circumstance of giant, being this giant behemoth of a headliner.
Yeah.
And just playing even like a forest set.
Oh, I mean,
something like that.
Yeah, I think that would be a little bit too crazy, I think, at this stage. You know,
that would be amazing.
It would be really cool, but like Shikari have such a big production, I think you've already mentioned. But like, you know,
just get Rao on the campsite to doing like an acoustic.
Oh, I mean, yeah, that would just get packed. And I don't think, and again, I don't think that's out of the question, but yeah, I just think that Shikari would be, you know, perfect to come back.
Yeah, I agree.
Play Trees again.
Well, I'm going to just quickly go on to another sort of big band, I guess, that we've kind of already touched upon before. This band really, since they last played 2000 Trees, since we first saw them at 2000 Trees, I feel like so many people have been pining for them to return. They have basically altered the course of what hardcore punk can do in the rock music scene. I would say. Is that a fair thing
It
to
is
describe this
absolutely
band?
valid. I mean, like, this
And that band is Turnstile.
Yes. We saw them at our very first Trees back in 2022, and they were sort of the sub-headliner or co-headliner, if you like, on the Thrice Day. Was it Thrice?
It was.
Yeah.
Because I distinctly remember seeing them, it being absolute pandemonium, and then going, well, good luck, Thrice, following that.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, this band have just continued to grow and grow and grow, and it's really cool to see bands like Turnstile, bands like Not Loose, for example, as well, just to throw another name out of there, who have just grown into the mainstream with a completely different style of music, you know. And we saw Turnstile play Kentish Town Forum as well.
That was amazing.
And that was... I don't think we'll ever see them in a venue that size again.
No, they are bordering on being global superstars, I think, at this point.
And after their showing at 2000 Trees, they actually went on to play Glastonbury as well.
Yeah, and they were on Jimmy Kimmel, I believe, in America. They're a huge deal now, I would say. But it has also been, unbelievably, it's been about 4 years since Glow On was released.
That's crazy.
Or it will be.
It will be by the time 2025 comes along.
So, first thing, before even Trees happens, I'm praying for a new record from them.
Yeah.
Which, I know there's been like one or two lineup changes. I think their guitar player left and they got a new guy in. They just love playing live, those guys.
Yeah.
So they're a bit like Metallica. They tour and tour and tour and tour and tour. And then when they've got time off from touring, which is what they love doing the most, they'll go in the studio.
Well, yeah, and also it's Brennan, isn't it?
Brendan, yeah.
Brendan. Yeah, Brendan's also been busy with directing music videos.
Oh yes, of course.
Yeah, he's done a few Paramore music videos in the absence of.
This is why, right? Live. He directed the music video.
Yeah, he directed the video for that. Fixed Skull, I believe he also did as well, which was like the last Paramore video that they did before they obviously went and did all their touring with Taylor Swift.
Yeah. He's a busy boy. There's a great clip, actually, just a little aside, is that, you know that clip I showed you with, it was Justice from Angel Dust.
Yes.
When he was in Trapped Under Ice with Brendan on this tour bus.
Yeah.
Because all the Baltimore hardcore bands kind of toured together back in the day.
Yeah.
And they're just singing, I can't remember what Paramore, I think it might have just been Mizbiz.
Yeah.
In the back of the bus, like lip-syncing to it.
That's so
It's
cool.
a brilliant video.
Yeah.
Of course, Brendan was also in Angel Dust. He's no longer in Angel Dust, but he was also doing that on the side as well.
Yeah.
So he was a busy boy.
Yeah.
I think they are just, in terms of bands, in terms of live acts and spectacles, they are the absolute total package for me.
Yeah.
And I cannot wait to see them again. And I'm really hoping. I mean, this is just a perfect. They played Outbreak, right?
Yes,
in the UK as well.
they have.
That's a real kind of hardcore
Yeah.
audience, you know, literal hardcore kids in that audience. So that's sort of more their vibe. But because they're not purely, I don't think they're purely hardcore.
No.
They've got so many other fascinating elements that they throw into their music, like bossa nova and all sorts of weird stuff that they put in their music. And Trees love an experimental band.
Well, it's not just that, but I think, you know, just seeing how well received they were 2 years ago when we went, and just seeing how the crowd reacted and how much fun it was.
They have to come back, as far as
I think they do need to come back at some point.
I really hope they do.
And speaking of bands coming back, I love my segues today. Yes. Another sort of act that I want to talk about, who I would love to see come back, not necessarily at 2000 Trees, but just in general, but I would love to see them at Trees. Tonight Alive. I have been pining for them to come back for so long. Jenna has been a busy gal herself, speaking of busy people. She's got a solo project called Heaven She, and I am so jealous of you all of you Australians out there, because Heaven She has been supporting You Me at 6, has been supporting like all of the bands and stuff in Australia. And also Tonight Alive, they did 2 comeback shows in Australia recently. And just seeing the footage from that really makes me miss a Tonight Alive gig.
And it's interesting you mentioned the Australia thing, because Trees are big on their Australian bands.
Yeah, so this would be like absolutely perfect for me. And Tonight Alive are going to be playing When We Were Young Festival. They're going to be performing The Other Side in full, which is one of my favourite albums of theirs. It probably is my favourite album. It's got like Lonely Girl on it. It's just so good. And yeah, as I say, I've missed seeing Tonight Alive live. I've only seen them twice.
So why do you think, apart from the fact they're Australian, because Trees love...
apart from the fact they're Australian.
Because Trees love Australia, you know, like Press Club and Doom Rats, we've seen them all at this year's 2000 Trees. Why do you think they'd be a good fit for Trees?
Well, I mean, like I just said there, that, you know, they're playing the When We Are Young festival, and that's a very nostalgic sort of lineup this year, with all of the bands that they've got playing and all the albums that they've got playing. And Tonight Live, I mean...
Stylistically,
though, I mean, they're very alternative, obviously. But their last record came out... Oh, my God. I think it came out like 5 or 6 years ago. And, yeah, that album, like, it didn't have massive sort of critical success in terms of charts and stuff. But, you know, the guest appearances that they had on that, they had Corey Taylor... They had Lynn Gunn. You know, there was a lot of really big names on that album. And like I say, if you kind of have seen them before, you'll understand sort of like, you know, just their overall wholesome vibes. And Jenna is just massively underrated, I think. I don't think enough people talk about Jenna's songwriting or, you know, her vocal talents enough. I think she's just massively underrated in the scene. But yeah, just seeing Tonight Alive again would be brilliant. Like I say, I've only got to see them twice. The first time I saw them was supporting Yumi at 6 in 2017. And then I saw them doing their own headline show at Rock City. And that was brilliant. Like, we got really close to Barrier for that night as well. But yeah, I'll stop talking about Jenna and Tonight Alive. And yeah, just seeing them in any capacity. And like I say, even her solo projects are brilliant. Like, Heaven She is just... like that whole EP that she put out last year was really, really good. So,
see, if we ever do a Tonight Alive solo gig video, you'll be like the equivalent of me at the beginning of our puppy one.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I could talk about Tonight Alive all day.
Yeah, my next prediction. Another band we mentioned earlier. I'm not going to dwell on it too much. I just think they are fantastic, and they are right at the vanguard of British hardcore. The difference is they do a thing with hardcore which I feel like is unprecedented, in that they blend it with a kind of Britpop post-punk kind of sensibility, which I think makes for such an interesting, dynamic, enigmatic sound. Idiosyncratic in a way. I like using all these big words to describe High Vis. Met the guys from High Vis a few times. Lovely blokes, especially Graham. We saw him at the Angel Dust and Teenage Wrist gig. I did anyway. And he actually was telling me about their upcoming single, and he was saying it was going to be like Cocteau Twins through a UK garage filter. And he wasn't really joking. Like, they are properly eclectic with their music. I can't wait for to listen to their newest album, which I don't think is out yet.
No, it isn't at the time of recording this. It is not out yet, but it is going to be out.
It's due to come out on the 18th of October, guided tour, yeah.
Which is this Friday,
there you go.
At the time of recording this podcast.
They are just the perfect fit for Trees again, I think. They have that real anti-establishment, transgressive feel about them.
Yeah.
Angry, you know, and kind of biting political social commentary. But they do it in a way that's so catchy and so danceable. I think. You know, hardcore is it's an interesting thing. It's sort of like kind of meat and potatoes genre of rock. But you can add so much spice and flavouring to it. Yeah. You know, if you want to.
I mean, you can call this a sort of a side prediction, but talking about the hardcore sort of bands that blend stuff, I think Speed would be a great shout for Trees.
Oh, now that is a good shout.
Speed they're an amazing hardcore band.
And again, Australian.
Yeah, unfortunately we didn't see them at Download because they pulled out.
Yeah.
But they do something really, really interesting in the hardcore scene. Like, who has a flute in a hardcore song?
Who has a flute? Honestly.
Yeah, Speed, I think. I mean,
just get Lizzo on.
Oh my God, don't. Like, that'd be so cool. Like rock and metal aside, I love Lizzo. But, like, yeah, like
we could probably do like a future podcast just saying about our favourite pop artists.
Well, yeah, because I mean, anybody that knows me knows that my roots are in pop. Like, you know, the first band that I saw live ever was Girls Aloud. I was a huge Girls Aloud fan as a kid. I probably could still rattle off facts about Girls Aloud that people would think I'm a bit crazy for.
Could you see them being at 2000 Trees?
Imagine. Oh my God. Don't. That's the co-headliner. There you go. Girls Aloud at 2000 Trees.
Girls Aloud and Sugar Babes as 2000 Trees co-headliner.
Do you know what?
Bullshit.
No, but Sugar Babes were at Glastonbury this year.
They were on
and they were really good.
They were on the same... What I love about that, Sugar Babes were on the same stage on the same day as Heilung.
They were, yeah. Can you imagine? Like,
that just...
It's crazy, but that's the world of Glastonbury. But Highvis were at Glastonbury as well this year. Glastonbury, like, as mainstream as it is, it does really have a diverse lineup.
But anyway...
we had a massive segue
We
there.
are getting off the point ever so slightly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I won't say too much else about Highvis other than that they're a great fucking band. They're great people. They deserve to be back at this festival, I think.
Yeah.
Over to your next one, I think.
Well, yeah, I would like to talk about another band that I really love, and they've definitely got a new album coming out next year, I really hope, because they've been teasing it. And they're a band that I've seen at various sort of capacities in terms of, like, the venue size. I've seen them playing festival headline. Well, not festival headline. I've seen them playing main stages at festivals. I've seen them playing Crawford Arms in Milton Keynes, if anyone knows that venue. I'm talking about a band called Employed to Serve. And this is another band that I think could be perfect either on the main stage or even headlining the Cave. Like, I think they're at either end of the spectrum. I think they could do any of those. But yeah, Employed to Serve I've seen quite a few times now. I think the very first time, actually, oh my gosh, this is major throwback. The very first time that I saw Employed to Serve was in 2017, and they were supporting Milk Teeth, R.I.P. Milk Teeth,
R.I.P. Milk Teeth,
at the Bodega. If anyone knows how small that venue is,
it's pretty fucking small.
It is very small. So seeing Employed to Serve there, and then, you know, just seeing them supporting Gojira 7 years later,
how
or
they've
however
grown
long it was,
exponentially as a band.
it's insane, and they are absolute grafters.
And not only that, they've created, Justine and her husband have created their own record label.
Yeah, Church Road. Yeah,
which is a fantastic, phenomenal label, which produces a lot of bands that have actually appeared at 2000 Trees in the past. I believe Grey Wave we saw at 2000
Yes,
Trees.
they were. Yeah, they are incredible. And then we've also got bands like, I think, Slow Crusher on Church Road as well.
That I think so. Yeah, a whole bunch of other. They're a really eclectic label. They kind of specialize in like hardcore, like proper black metal, death metal, hardcore stuff, but then shoegazy atmospheric stuff as well.
Yeah.
It's a real kind of gamut of like genres.
But yeah, back to Employed to Serve real quick.
Yeah.
Obviously, their last record came out at this point nearly 3 years ago, Conquering.
Has that been that long? Really?
Yeah.
That was during lockdown, wasn't it?
It was just after, I believe.
Just after.
Yeah, because they released Parties Over during lockdown.
That's right.
And then they released Conquering.
How that didn't make the album, I've no idea. That's a great song.
It's an absolutely amazing song. But yeah, Employed to Serve, like I say, absolute grafters, and they're incredible live. If any of you have ever seen Employed to Serve, I think I've seen them now at least 3 or 4 times, which is probably rookie numbers compared to some people that I know who love this band as well.
Me included, I guess. Well, I will hold my hands up again. I'm not the biggest Employed to Serve fan. But I have seen them live a number of times. I cannot deny their passion for what they do for a living, their graft, like you said. Justine, I think, is a great person.
Yeah,
in general.
I've met Justine a couple of times. I actually met the whole band actually at Bloodstock last year.
You got your stuff signed.
I got my sort of CD pamphlet for Conquering signed. And I was chatting to Justine about Milk Teeth and Puppy, and it was really cool. And then actually the last time that I saw them, like I say, at the Crawford Arms, I actually got one of Sammy's picks. And it sits on my keyboard.
Pride and place
on the keyboard. So, but yeah, as I say, Employed to Serve, I think they would work on any stage, actually, now that I think more about it, at 2000 Trees. And again, they're sort of another band that have been working hard in the scene for many, many years. And The last time I saw them at a festival was on main stage at Bloodstock, and they absolutely smashed it. And I think that they would easily do the same job, and if not way better, at 2000 Trees.
So we're going quite metal heavy, I think.
Hardcore
heavy.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, you know, you've got the Cave at Trees, which has a lot of the hardcore and smaller bands and stuff like that on there. You've got the Axiom that has a little bit more of the, you know, the Creepers and the Hot Milks and stuff. And then obviously you've got the New Stage, which obviously has all the up and coming bands, and then Main Stage is a good mix of everything in that
scene. Fair
scene.
game, I think, across the board, really, for anyone. Yeah, all right. Next up, I'm going to talk about basically a kind of pipe dream band for this festival.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen, but my God, would I love it to happen, and I think it would go down an absolute storm. Deftones.
Yeah, you've been wanting Deftones at Trees for a while.
I just think so many bands that Trees put on their bill would not exist if it wasn't for Deftones.
Yeah, Deftones are definitely one of those bands that are...
trailblazers.
Yeah,
you know?
I was about to say genre-defining. You know?
Well, that as well, but they really were the sort of pioneers of that melding of shoegaze and metal.
Yeah.
We saw it with Blanket last year.
Yes.
They would not exist. I can guarantee you they probably wouldn't exist without Deftones.
Yeah.
You mentioned Slow Crush. I'm sure there's probably... You could argue they wouldn't exist without Deftones.
And even bands that aren't in rock and metal that love Deftones, like Churches, I love that band. And Lauren is a huge fan of Deftones.
Puppy, they've mentioned Deftones being one of their big influences.
Yeah.
It's like, they touch so many corners of the rock and metal world. They are a cornerstone of the genre. Arguably too big now.
Yeah,
especially they've had this kind of weird renaissance since the advent of TikTok becoming so massive.
Yeah.
And TikTokers, Gen Zers, for some reason have latched onto Deftones massively.
Yeah.
And their songs now do huge numbers.
They are, yeah.
It's like one of them big tunes on Spotify now is their cover of Please, Please Let Me Get What I Want by the Smiths.
That's crazy.
Was just like a random throwaway kind of cover that was on their B-Sides and Rarities album, which I had, which wasn't doing that big numbers, but now it's into like nearly the 100 million.
It just shows you how big social media can play a part.
It's ridiculous, you know. I think, I'm a humongous Deftones fan.
Yeah,
right?
as you guys may or may not know from our Crosses video.
Yeah, of course.
And that could be another sort of segue.
Yeah, you know what?
You know, if it's not Deftones,
maybe Crosses
would be a good shout.
But like Crosses in the Forest, can you imagine? That would be amazing.
That would be really nice. That sort of production. And maybe
that's where Chino's head is still at the moment. Is more with Crosses, but Deftones. I mean,
it would have to absolutely be main stage headliner. They couldn't be anywhere else.
But like, I really think so many bands owe a debt to that band, and they are always phenomenal live. I mean, I know that they've had some naysayers here and there that are, you know, they're a very polarizing band live. You know, you either get it or you don't with them. I feel.
Yeah, I've only seen Deftones once, but I really enjoyed it, and that was at Download 2 years ago. Yeah. So.
And a few days after that, I saw him again at the Kentish Town Forum.
Talking of at the Kentish Town Forum, you know,
was one of the best gigs I think of my life. It was just ridiculous. What more can I say? Really, they are my absolute number one wish list band.
Yeah. Okay, so I've got like maybe one or two more names that I'd like to sort of talk about before we move on to our closing segment, I guess, if you like. I'm going to talk about a band that we both love now, and they are certainly, when you think about bands that have played at Trees before and are sort of, you know, in that sort of royalty category of Trees bands, I think that as well, given their reception last time they played Trees, I think Holding Absence will be back at Trees next year. And I think it could be a headline slot.
What, the whole festival?
Maybe not, maybe like a co-headline festival thing. I think, they played sort of in the middle of main stage last time they were at 2000 Trees. And I think, again, given the success of their latest record and given the shows that they've played on that record and sort of that lifespan, playing a bloody castle in Wales. Like, who else can say that they've done that? And yeah, Holding Absence, we've seen them several times at this point. From support slot to main sort of shows.
I've seen them God knows how many times. They're the most lovely lads, honestly.
Yeah.
Like,
and again, grafters.
Yes, 100%. They're in the music trade for the sole reason in that they just love doing it.
Yeah.
You can tell their passion radiates through. Lucas is just one of the best singers, I think, that the scene has produced in the last decade.
Yeah.
For me. He's phenomenal. There's a reason, I think I mentioned this in an earlier video, but there's a reason why Funeral for a Friend took him on to be their new lead singer.
Yeah.
I think, Trees, they're kind of Trees' favourite sons.
That's what I mean, yeah. They've played Trees so many times in so many different capacities. I think going off of when they were last at Trees, and I only know this through other people's vlogs, when they were playing main stage in the middle of the day, Lucas actually did say, we've been playing at this festival for so many years and we've played every single stage and we've worked our way up to this main stage slot. And I think it only makes sense that they continue that progression and go to sort of a co-headliner set. I think, like I say, this band are incredible, and if you haven't listened to their latest record or any of their records, I would highly recommend it. Lucas just has a way with words, and the band themselves are just all so talented and
unbelievably
really
emotional.
Yeah.
All their sets just become such an emotional out of body experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're lovely, lovely lads. I wish them all the best. I really do. Yeah, I hope they get some semblance of a headline slot, be it in the Cave or the Axiom or even the new stage.
Yeah. To be fair, even headlining the Axiom would not be out of the question because bands like from this year, bands, Creeper, Hot Milk, and they're all, I would put Holding Absence on the same sort of bar for sure.
We mentioned Creeper, I can see them coming back this year.
Yeah, I think that could be interesting. My only thing against that, though, is that they are at Bloodstock and whether they have exclusivity to Bloodstock.
That's a very good
because
point.
they are going to be playing at Bloodstock and I'm very, very excited.
Okay, well, I'm going to wrap up my selections anyway. I feel like we've kind of been neglecting the more indie side.
Yeah,
I guess.
for sure.
We've been talking about metal a lot and punk and hardcore. What about a room for a little bit of Weezer?
Oh, see, that would be so cool. I think, again, they would have to be a headliner.
Absolutely, they would have to headline.
Yeah.
I think they would go down as Storm again. I think everyone loves Weezer. Don't lie, you love a bit of Weezer.
I was just about to say this. If any of my Pokemon lot are watching this, Weezer is a bit of a meme in our group. But I stand in the corner of, Weezer are brilliant.
But again, they've got that kind of internet sort of pull to them, And, Rivers is a genius. And he's so prolific. And it's ridiculous how much music they've released. George Gadd, who's a mainstay at Trees, he's covered Weezer numerous times in acoustic sessions in Cat. Clearly, it's a band that attracts. I can only speak from obviously going for a couple of years at Trees, but I really think it's a good archetype.
Yeah.
Of a band to play at that festival.
And again, I think Weezer are sort of at that. Not perfect size, that's probably the wrong word, but when you think about that, they played shows this year with Smashing Pumpkins at the O2.
They're not, it's been a while since a Weezer record has kind of done the numbers for them.
Yeah, that's true.
They always do go out and do stuff from the Blue album still, for example, Even though I fucking love Van Weezer, which was their album.
Yeah, I was going to say
2021, was it?
Yeah, because they played a lot of that when we saw them support Green Day on Hella Mega.
They were due to release it in 2020, but they actually delayed it by a whole year.
Yeah.
And then finally released it in 2021. It's one of my absolute favourite records of theirs. And obviously, typical Rivers, he makes an arena rock record, makes me played live in arenas. And when we see him on Hell Omega, doesn't do a single bloody song from that record.
No, he didn't.
He instead just chose to play a cover event to Sandman.
Yeah, that was... oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
What I'm trying to say is they're a real kooky band. And again, Rivers, like Evan Dando, mentioned earlier, he's a real bohemian spirit, does what he wants, writes what he wants, plays where he wants. And therefore, ergo, I can totally see Weezer dropping all the pomp and shenanigans and how big they are in the grand scheme of things and going, you know what, I fancy playing that little festival down in Gloucestershire.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm going to talk about one more band and then we'll move on to our sort of final segment of the podcast. And it's a band that I've already spoken about on here, so I can sort of, just run it by really quickly. But they sort of fall into that sort of same category as Holding Absence in that they've played 2000 Trees before, and I think that they will probably be there next year, and that's Vukovi. Surprise, surprise, I'm talking about Vukovi again. Yeah. But no, for real, Vukovi, last time that they played 2000 Trees was our first time at 2000 Trees, which was
first time I'd ever seen them.
In 2022, yeah. They were headlining the new stage, which is the sort of blue tent on the hill heading towards Maine. And yeah, that show was just absolutely carnage. Janine was on point that night. And yeah, just sort of going back to sort of bands that are making moves already for next year. As I mentioned at the start of the podcast, Vukovi have got a new album. They've got a new tour. They're going to be playing festivals next year. They played Download this year. I think that they'll probably be back at Trees.
They've got a rabid following as well.
Yeah, I'm in their Discord. They've got a whole following.
Honestly, before I saw them, I didn't realise just how popular they were. People were people would bite their heads off Iron Brews.
Yeah.
No, I'm trying to think of something Scottish.
No.
But if Janine threw a haggis into the crowd, they would all be ravenous for that haggis and
of course,
all over it. I don't know where this is.
No, I don't know where you're going with that either.
They're Scottish.
They're Scottish. If you've watched our download vlog, you'll know. But no, yeah, Vukovi have just always had a really good reception at 2000 Trees.
The Fridge.
Yes, I want to see the return of Mr. Fridge. So if Mr. Fridge is somehow listening to this podcast, or if
that the Fridge?
Is that the Fridge?
I'll never forget that.
Honestly, Vukovi shows are just an absolute blast. But yeah, I just think that, given everything that they've done since their last appearance at Trees, which I've been to most of them.
I can see him being outside.
Yeah, I think they could play main stage, absolutely. And yeah, as I say, they've just been on such a big trajectory of venues that they've played since we saw them at Trees. I saw them earlier this year playing the Electric Ballroom in Camden, and they played Nuala in full, which is their latest album. Obviously, they've got the new one coming out in January. And as I said at the start of the podcast, I've got tickets for their Kentish Town show. I think if they can play Kentish Town, they can play main stage. So,
yeah.
But yeah, that is enough of me gushing about Vukovi.
And that's enough of both of us gushing about our Trees predictions, I think. We'll leave that there. We had a few more to talk about, but I don't want to leave this thing running for too long.
Yeah, and also, obviously, the announcement is next week, so we will probably do some sort of a reaction to it.
I'm going to say you're probably going to get more right than me.
You think?
I think you're on the ball with Shikari, Holding Absence, Employed to Serve, Marmosets. I very much doubt we'll get Deftones, or Weezer, or even Turnstile. Yeah. But those are kind of my dream predictions more than actual predictions.
Yeah, really, of course. If we were to have our complete dream lineup, I would love Paramore to play Trees, but that's never going to happen.
Trees is just, whatever happens, right? It's a fantastic festival. It's a great festival to kind of discover your new favourite band.
Yes.
Bands that aren't necessarily promoted by the mainstream.
Yes.
Really.
Shout out Panic Shack.
Yes.
I think they're one of the main ones that we love from Trees.
Panic Shack, Press Club, People, load of others that I never, Sweet Pill. I wouldn't have heard of them at all, and if I hadn't seen them at Trees, and now they're one of my favourites. So.
But that is a topic for another day.
That is a topic for another day.
Yeah, let's talk about just before we get on to a sort of a fun way to end the podcast, let's talk about some of the albums that are coming out for the rest of the month. That we
kind of touched on it a little bit. We didn't really go into detail, but in terms of albums we've got down to listen to, High Vis, as I mentioned, Guided Tour, I've no doubt it's probably going to be their most eclectic release to date. It's going to be an interesting listen. I'm not sure it's going to be an easy listen, to be fair, but I can't wait for it regardless.
Yeah.
Then we got Fit for an Autopsy, The Nothing That Is, on the 25th of October. Oh my God, I'm psyched for this one.
I am very excited. The singles have been absolutely killer.
Hostage is one of my favourite songs of the whole year. It's an unbelievable tune.
Yeah.
Just crushing, that kind of crushing deathcore, but with a touch of melody as well, which I didn't expect. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it's going to be sensational.
Yeah.
Better Lovers, Highly Irresponsible.
We sadly missed them.
We missed them at 2000 Trees, much to the chagrin of our campmates.
I think did we see the chats instead?
I think we did.
I can't remember which night it was.
I got drunk with the guys from Cold Years at the same time. So I won't swap that for anything, to be fair. But I heard that show was absolute... I mean, let's face it, it's Greg Puciato. So Carnage just follows him wherever he goes.
Of course.
That is just going to be probably in a lot of people's top lists, I can guarantee it.
Yeah, for sure.
Soccer Mummy, Evergreen. Now, I really like Last Soccer Mummy album.
Yeah, it was very it was an album that we didn't expect to enjoy as much as we did. No offence.
No, but it was quite indie. It had an indie sensibility, very light,
very Wolf Alice-y, which ticks my boxes.
Yeah, very wistful and atmospheric.
Yeah.
You can see my hand movements trying to describe.
Yeah. You can definitely visualise that.
Cane Hill. Now, this is a band that have been away for a long time.
Yeah, I don't know too much about them.
And this is their first album since 2018, I want to say. They're a phenomenal band, Cane Hill. They were one of the first bands I saw at Download 2018, I believe, on the main stage.
Yeah.
And they had real momentum behind them at that point. But again, much like Marmosets, they just kind of disappeared. And they sporadically were releasing these weird experimental EPs. Like, I think one of them was called Kill the Sun, which had like an acoustic Alice in Chains vibe about it. Which was strange, because they're a full-blown nu metal revival band, I would say. Really, really cool. They've kind of started incorporating like a lot of 7-string work, a lot of lowlier guitars. Elijah has got one of those voices that's very... you can tell he wears his influences on his sleeve, you know. It's very kind of Mudvayne-y, quite deranged sort of nu metal delivery.
Yeah.
Really, really cool though. Very catchy.
Yeah.
Ugly Model Mannequin. Look up that song. That's catchy as fuck song.
And the last sort of release that we want to discuss, I guess, is Devin Townsend coming out with a new album called Power Nerd.
Power Nerd.
What a title.
My favourite musical nerd, I think, is the best way to describe Devin Townsend.
Yeah, Devin Townsend, like, I'll hold my hands up to this one. I didn't actually know who Devin Townsend was until we started going out together.
I think I introduced him to you, really.
Yeah, you did, and we saw him at the Royal Albert Hall. I bought tickets for his birthday.
That was an unbelievable show.
And it was so good. Like, I was actually telling some people about it at my Lord Kana group, because recently someone went to the Royal Albert Hall, and we were sort of just talking about how incredible of a venue that is.
Now, there's not enough time in the world to describe how much I love Devin Townsend. That's probably another podcast for another day. But basically, he was in a band called Strapping Young Lad. Sort of a Canadian death metal. Well, I guess like extreme metal was probably the best way to describe it. It wasn't pure death metal. No. Although they did have Gene Hoglan on drums, who is the death metal drummer. Very Canadian, very... sardonic sense of humour. Yeah,
I was gonna say, like, he's openly said like that he's quite nervous and awkward on stage.
Yeah,
but that doesn't really deteriorate from the sort of,
if anything, it adds to it, because Devin, he's such a fascinating man. He has such an eclectic taste in music. Again, I'm just going to blabble on about Devin. Stop me now before I blabble on about Devin Townsend.
Okay,
but basically, mental mad professor, Canadian metal guy,
and another grafter in the industry.
Absolutely, can't wait for that album.
Yes.
So we come to our last segment of the podcast,
Yeah.
which I guess when we kind of envisioned this podcast, it really was our intention to make it a bit fun.
Yeah.
You know? Maybe add some fun elements to it.
And this one was my idea, I will say.
It was, to be fair. You discovered this website.
Yeah, so this website I found like earlier this year, I think. And it's basically a higher or lower game. And what we have to do is we have to guess which metal song has been played more on Spotify. And I will say the all-time play count stats were updated on April 2024, so it might not be fully accurate now.
As of now.
However, I'm sure we'll do okay. And yeah, this one is like just metal songs basically, and they have subcategories for like Metallica, Slipknot, and there's like other sort of games that we can play where we sort of don't just look at the metal and rock bands and stuff like that.
Sure.
So.
Should we do like a specific one maybe?
No, I think we should just go
general...
straight in with this general one.
So this is www.higherorlowergame.com/Spotify/songs/metal.
And yeah, we're going
to... Maybe slashes on this.
All the slashes. So we're going to work together and we'll see, we'll give it a few runs and we'll see how well we do working together.
Right. Oh, wow. Hell of a start here.
What a start.
So, we've got Mayhem, Chainsaw Guts Fuck, or Limits by Bad Omens. I think this is a formality, really.
I think it's Bad Omens.
Well, Chainsaw Guts, Mayhem at the end of the day are a very niche band.
They are. They're very well known.
They're very infamous within black metal circles.
Yeah.
They're probably the most notorious black metal band of all time, and that's probably a topic we'll get into for another podcast. Or I certainly will, because I know more about Mayhem than you do.
Yeah, I don't know much about
But Bad
Mayhem.
Omens are just way too
Yeah, it's got to be Bad
successful.
Omens.
Well, I mean, just before we find out the answer, what do you make of Bad Omens?
I mean, I listened to them a bit for the download sort of prep before they had to unfortunately pull out of download. I think they're all right.
I think they're all right as well.
Yeah, they've got some nice bangers.
They've got some decent songs. Again, I'm not a Gen Zer. I have no idea why they're so popular over like other kind of poppy metalcore acts, but there you go.
Right, let's see if we got it right.
Clearly, it's going to be Bad Omens.
Yeah, so 53 million to 8 million.
To 8 million. Bit of a landslide, really.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So now we've got... It basically keeps one of the songs on there. So
it keeps the winning song.
Yeah, so we've still got Limits by Bad Omens. And we've got to guess whether that's higher or lower than Auslander by Rammstein.
Now, this is a tricky one.
Yeah, it's not like their biggest
Auslander
song.
is definitely not Rammstein's biggest hit. However,
it's
Rammstein...
not Deutschland or...
No, it's not Deutschland, it's not Sonne or Firefly or anything.
Or
However, it is Rammstein, who
Yeah,
are pretty massive.
they are, but is it as big as 53 million?
I'm still going to ride on the belief that the TikTok crowd are going to have made this
Yeah, I want to say that
for
it's
Rammstein
still Bad Omens.
So I'm still going to say Bad Omens.
Oh, let's see. Wow, we were miles off.
Miles off.
200 million listens for Auslander. Well, that was a warm-up. We've now got a gif of, I think that's Katy Perry laughing at us.
Laughing in our face. Thanks,
How
Katy.
rude.
Go back to doing your Just Eat adverts.
I don't even know if she does that anymore.
Probably not.
I'm sure it's Christina who does
Let's
it.
have another go at this, right?
Anyway, let's try again. So, okay. This is interesting. So we've got Rise by Extreme, or we have Motorhead with The Game, brackets, Triple H.
theme.
It's got to be that, surely.
Well, I mean, first off, can I just say I'm a huge Motorhead fan as well. Lemmy is an icon of mine. You know, I can't wait to go to Rock City to pay my respects to him. Extreme, they were one of those 80s funk metal bands that kind of... Do you know the song More Than Words?
Yes.
That's probably their biggest hit. I have no idea what Rise is.
No.
So
it's got to be that. I mean, just for the WWE.
The fact it's Motorhead, the fact it's wrestling related,
Yeah.
wrestling fans are, you know, they're infamous for how loyal they are to wrestling. So I feel like most wrestling fans will just have a playlist of wrestling themes on them.
I used to have that.
Yeah, I probably did have that as well.
Yeah.
We'll talk about wrestling for another
85
podcast.
million to 2 million.
Absolutely smoked it. Yeah.
Landslide. Oh, okay, we're sticking
Another
with Extreme.
song. No, I'm sticking with the
No,
Game.
we got to... So, just for the record, it is The Game by Motorhead. Or it's another Extreme track. This time it's Kid Ego.
Sorry, Extreme. I mean, we'll have to get in one of our mates to talk about Extreme.
Yeah, we will.
You know which one.
Absolutely.
He's probably listening to this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got to be the game.
But yeah, I'm sticking with the game.
Yep. 2 million. Yeah, we'll take
Can be
that.
a third Extreme song in a row.
Oh, no, it's not. Oh, okay. So, interesting. So, we've still got Kid Ego by Extreme at 2 million and a bit. And we've got to guess whether that's higher or lower than Tainted Love by Marilyn Manson.
Well, let's face it, right? That is a huge song.
It's a huge song, regardless of what you think of Marilyn Manson.
Yes, we won't go into that too much. But,
no, but it's definitely that.
All I've said is that I saw him live at Download and it was an experience.
And with that, let's see if we've got this right.
I think Tainted Love by
far.
Oh,
yeah, 166 million. So now, this is going to be tough. This is
interesting.
So we've still got Marilyn Manson, Tainted Love, which has, at the time of the stats being pulled, 166,440,000. I can't even say the number.
166,434,674. It's hard reading out long numbers, isn't it?
It is. And we've got to guess whether that's higher or lower than Sonne by Rammstein.
Well, I mentioned Sonne earlier.
Yeah,
I think
it is a tune.
I think that's a way bigger hit than Auslander. I remember the video and everything with like the Seven Dwarves and all that. Have you seen the video?
I have, yeah. Brilliant. It's been a very long time. I think with Rammstein with this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, 451 million, nearly 452 million.
Nearly half a billion.
Oh, now, okay, this is interesting. So we've still got Rammstein on screen, Sonne, with 451,968,608, lots of sixes and eights. And we've got to guess whether that's higher or lower than The Sound of Silence by Disturbed.
You can play along with this at home, by the way. Feel free.
That's why I'm reading all of the stuff out. You can play along with us and see if you do better or worse.
Pause the podcast and get your guess before we do. Now, Sound of Silence was fucking huge, wasn't it?
It was.
That cover.
Yeah.
It was bloody everywhere when it was first released.
I think
it basically resurrected Disturbed's career, didn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
They were kind of well, you know, it wasn't saying they were in the doldrums, but they were definitely not as successul as they were when they released, like, Down With The Sickness.
Yeah, I was just about to say,
I think this song is bigger than Down With The Sickness.
No.
I really do.
I don't think so.
It was massive. I reckon that's got at least 1 billion listens.
I don't know.
Or close to.
I think I would still pick Sonne here.
I don't know.
I think if Disturbed was... If that song was Down With The Sickness...
You underestimate how massive that song is and how massive Disturbed are in America, Bab. So
but are you overruling
I'm
me?
overruling you,
okay.
And if it's wrong, then you can... I don't know.
All right, let's see. Wow, yeah, okay.
There you go.
I stand corrected.
I rest my case.
Yeah, 754,975,476 listens for The Sound of Silence. And we're back to Marilyn Manson in comparison. Killing Strangers. I don't know this one.
I don't even know that one, so I'm just going to stick with Sound of
Silence.
I'm
sorry to any Marilyn Manson fans out there.
If this song is big on TikTok, then whatever, but surely Sound of Silence beats that one.
It does. 86 million. So we're on a streak now. We've got 6. So now they've moved us away from Disturbed. So, Killing Strangers, Marilyn Manson, 86,061,225 listens. And we need to figure out if that's higher or lower than Summer Breeze by Typo Negative.
What a tune.
Another one of Rob's favourite
bands.
Another
one of my favourite bands. They're really pulling out all the stops to make sure I can talk about these ones at length.
Now, my gut instinct would say Typo.
Now, as someone who loves Typo, I almost saw a Typo Negative tribute band in Milton Keynes the other night, in fact, but circumstances got in the way. That's not their biggest hit.
I know it's not.
Far from it.
But Typo surely...
I would say that's probably only got a few... You know, they were still quite a niche band. Even though they were massive in the 90s, I still think they were quite niche. Whereas Manson is...
Manson.
he's still an icon.
I'm happy for you to take the reins.
This is an album track off Bloody Kisses, which has the far more successful Black Number 1 on it. So I'm going to say Killing Strangers is bigger.
Okay. Yep. I'm glad I listened to you. So Typo Negative Summer Breeze has 13,529,317. I've not had to read this many numbers off out loud since school.
Maybe you don't have to read. Maybe just round it off.
Okay, I'll round it off. Okay, fine. So 13.5 million then. Let's go with that. And now we need to go higher or lower. And the song is Every Day Is Exactly the Same by 9 Inch Nails.
Never seen 9 Inch Nails live.
No, neither have I.
But I know how massive
they have a huge following.
And how groundbreaking they are.
Yeah.
That song is quite big, I would say.
Yeah.
I think it's within their top 10
I think so
of their songs. I think it's far bigger than Summer Breeze as well. So
let's go with that. 9 Inch Nails. Yeah. 44 million.
44 million.
And next up, okay. So every day is exactly the same. 9 Inch Nails. Is it higher or lower though than Living After Midnight by Judas Priest? Another infamous band.
Well, Judas Priest. What can you say? Rob Halford, Metal God.
Memes!
Shout out me to Mel. Yeah, Living After Midnight's bigger.
Surely.
It's got to be bigger.
Yep,
yes.
106 million.
Living After Midnight.
Oh, okay. So we've got Living After Midnight, higher or lower than No Excuses by Alice in Chains.
Another one of my favourites.
Another one of Rob's
coming
favourites.
up with all Rob's favourites tonight. Well, what a song. I've covered this song before at open mics. It's a fantastic song, No Excuses, from an unbelievably amazing EP that they did called Jar of Flies in about 94. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know a lot about it. Does it mean I know, like...
Does it mean that everybody else would know it as well as you?
I don't think it's got 100 million.
No,
as much as I want No Excuses.
I think I would pick Judas Priest as well.
It's probably in their top 10 most played songs by Alice in Chains.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's as big as Living After Midnight.
Let's have a look. Oh, it's close. 99 million.
Close. 99 million to 106.
Yeah. Okay, so we're still going. We've got a score of 10. So we've got Alice in Chains, No Excuses on 99.6 million. Is that higher or lower than Circle the Drain by Machine Head?
Well, I don't think that's Machine Head's biggest
No,
hit.
I was just about to say my gut instinct would say Alice in Chains, but...
Is Circle the Drain the one with Jesse on it?
I think so.
Jesse Leach from Killswitch.
I think it is, but I think my gut instinct would still say Alice in Chains.
I want to say Machine Head's biggest song is There Anybody Out There, which I think only has like a... I think that's their only song that has has reached 100 million listeners.
Right.
So I'm going to say No Excuses.
Yeah. Yep, 17 million for Circle the Drain.
We're quite good. See, we're
doing all right.
Flow, you know.
Okay, we're back to Bad Omens now. So Circle the Drain, which has 17.4 million, obviously by Machine Head. Higher or lower, Nowhere to Go by Bad Omens.
Now this is where it gets
tricky. This is probably where it gets a bit trickier because
I don't know that much about Bad Omens, so I don't know if Nowhere to Go is like just an album track.
Yeah,
we don't know. Huge songs,
I don't think it is one of their big ones.
However, I do think more people, if you think about who listens to Spotify, probably listen to Bad Omens more.
Yeah.
Sorry, Machine Head, I love you, but I think Nowhere to Go just has this.
Let's go. Yeah, 46 million. Oh my God, we're on a roll. Oh, okay.
Oh.
This is a tough... I think I know where I would go with this one, but I'll see what the audience thinks. So, Nowhere to Go, Bad Omens, 46.2 million. Higher or lower than Down in a Hole by Alice in Chains?
Down in a hole. Oh, that's such a banger.
I think this is going to be quite a close one.
I think so as well. I think there could be like thousands of listens in this.
My gut instinct says Alice in Chains.
My gut instinct says Alice in Chains as well.
So let's go with that. Yep, 140 million.
140 million.
Damn. Wow. Okay. Oh, so Down in a Hole, Alice in Chains, 140.6 million. Higher or lower than Failure by Breaking Benjamin?
Wow, that's a band I haven't talked about for a while.
No.
I actually saw them live.
I've never seen them live.
Breaking Benjamin have only done 3 gigs ever in the UK.
That's crazy.
Because Ben Burnley has got a fear of flying.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
So the only time he came over to the UK was for Download 2016, and he had to go by boat.
I was going to say, if you don't like flying, that'll take you days
I'm
to get
sure
in.
he had to go by boat, which is mental. But yeah, I feel very, very privileged to have seen them live once, and I believe they did play this song as well.
Okay.
However, I And the thing is, they're huge in America. Breaking
They are,
Benjamin.
but that doesn't necessarily translate to listens.
Did you ever play Halo 2? I think it was. No, you weren't an Xbox.
I was always a PlayStation girl, so I didn't play Halo 2.
Blow Me Away, what a tune! If it was that, I could say it's probably bigger, but I'm going to go down the hole again.
I think Alice in Chains. Yeah. Oh, 97 million.
97 million.
All right. Oh, I don't know this band. You might have to pronounce
I'll fill you
this
in.
for me, because. So we've got 97.3 million listens for Breaking Benjamin, Failure. Higher or lower than Stained, Mud Shovel.
Stained, I don't know much about either, really. They're one of those bands that were on the sort of 5 bands of doom, as we call it, from the WWF back in the early 2000s.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know, for every pay-per-view from the early 2000s, you had at least one Stained song, I would say.
Okay.
Good. So they had a good, and they had a bit of a relationship with Limp Bizkit. They did an acoustic duet with Fred.
Okay.
They're quite big in America again.
Yeah.
But then again, so are Breaking Benjamin. This is actually quite tough. This could be where we lose it here.
I think my gut instinct says Breaking Benjamin.
I think mine does as well.
Yeah, let's have a look.
No!
Oh, no, we lost the streak. Mud Shovel by Stained had 123 million. And this time we've got a gif of Elton John.
We're not still standing.
We're not still standing, however.
We're not
really
landing.
Fun.
Standing.
That was really fun, though. I enjoyed that. So if you guys like that segment, let us know. We'll play that again another time with some different sort of genres.
Maybe we'll be a bit more niche and go for like specific bands.
Yeah, because there's definitely like a version where it goes like, does this band have more listens than this band, rather than specific songs?
Right. Well, how long have we been going for? Like,
we've been going on for over an hour and a half. So.
Oh wow, yeah. I think that's a good point to leave it.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you everyone for listening to the second ever episode of the Alt Pulse podcast. We really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, this was a really good one for us, and the next one, I don't know what we're going to discuss, but we'll think about it. We'll go to the drawing board. We've got a very busy October outside of the channel and stuff like that. Literally, at the time of recording, in a few days, I'm off to France to play in a Pokemon tournament, leaving this one behind for a few days.
Myself, I'm probably going to try and find a gig or something. No, to be fair, right.
And we've got a lot of, like, sort of family stuff.
I've probably got other stuff to do as well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I reckon our next proper big vlog is going to be Fit for an Autopsy, right?
Yeah, but that's not going to be for a while.
That's not going to be for a while.
So
you never know. I guess I could do, if I go to the Evan Dando gig, I could vlog that for you guys.
There might be a cheeky
October vlog in there.
Otherwise...
Obviously, the other thing is we're preparing for Christmas, obviously, so it's a lot of work.
Otherwise, I think that we'll probably end up doing a video about our sort of reaction / thoughts to the Trees announcement next week. Hopefully we'll have time to record that before we travel to...
Well, Bloodstock are due to make their announcements
soon
as well. So
there's going to be a lot of announcements.
We can make it like a double header, I guess.
Yeah.
But
there's a lot to look forward to. We're going to be getting a fair few announcements over the next few weeks. I reckon Download are probably due their first announcement as well. So we're gonna cover it as best as we can, as quick as we can on the channel in between all the other stuff.
Yeah, we're going to be very fast and loose with the videos over the next few months, I would say.
Yeah.
We have got several gigs coming up for the rest of the year, so there are going to be more vlogs.
Yeah, absolutely. So just keep your eyes peeled, keep your ears peeled as well for
Keep subscribed.
Yes, subscribe, like, comment, all that good stuff. I'm Laura.
I'm Rob.
And we've been the Alt Pulse Project. Thank you very much.
Nice one.
There we go. That's the clip.